Today we are going to see a new chapter of the standard 7th, and the name of the chapter is Nutrition in Plants. This is a chapter in which we have to see what is nutrition, what are nutrients, then what are autotroph, what are heterotroph, what is saprophytic plant, what are insectivorous plants, and the different examples of the autotroph, heterotroph, insectivorous plant, saprophytic plant, and what is photosynthesis, and what are raw materials necessary for the photosynthesis. In this particular chapter, we have to also see what is the structure of the cell, who discovered cell, and we have to also see the different examples of the insectivorous plant, symbiotic plant, and parasitic plant. Now, just see the first concept, autotroph. Now, what are autotrophs? Autotrophs are those organisms which can prepare their own food. They are called as autotrophs. The example of the autotroph is algae, some bacteria, and plants. Now, plants are green in color. Why the plants are green in color? Because of the pigment chlorophyll. The plants are green in color. Now, plants prepare their own food, so they are called as autotrophs. Green plants prepare their own food. Why plants are green in color? Because of the presence of the pigment called as chlorophyll. Now, plants, algae, and bacteria, these are the examples of the autotroph. Now, what are heterotroph? Heterotroph are those organisms which are dependent for the purpose of food on autotroph. Means heterotrophs are those organisms which cannot synthesize their own food. Example is human. Now the name of the chapter is Nutrition in Plants. Then you must know what is nutrition, what are nutrients. The process of obtaining and utilizing food by living organism is called as nutrition. The process of obtaining and utilizing food by living organism is called as nutrition. Now what are nutrients? Nutrients are those substances which are necessary for the normal growth and development of the body. Example, protein, carbohydrate, vitamins, minerals, water. These are the nutrients. If anyone asks you what is nutrition, you must tell nutrition is a process of obtaining and utilizing food. It is called as nutrition. And what are nutrients? Some raw materials which are necessary for the growth and development of the body, they are called as nutrient. Example is carbohydrate, protein, fat, mineral, vitamins, water. They are the nutrients. Now the name of the chapter is Nutrition in Plants. Now how the nutrition in plants takes place? Plants generally green in color because of the presence of the pigment called as chlorophyll. Green plants synthesize their own food with the help of a process. The name of the process is photosynthesis. Now what happens in photosynthesis? Green plants absorb atmospheric CO2. Green plant absorb water from the roots of the plant, and with the help of raw materials such as chlorophyll, sunlight, CO2 and water, green plants prepare their own organic food, that is C6H12 O6, that is glucose. So photosynthesis is a process in which simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water, they are utilized by the plants and there is a formation of their own food. This process is called as photosynthesis. Now how this photosynthesis takes place? Two catalysts are required. One is chlorophyll, another one is sunlight. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, the reaction of the photosynthesis takes place. Now you must know what is catalyst. Catalyst is a substance which is not taking part in the chemical reaction, but that is increasing the rate of the reaction. This particular substance is called as catalyst. Now autotrophs, the example of the autotroph are algae, plant and bacteria, and the example of the heterotroph is human. Autotroph means they can prepare their own organic food. Heterotroph means they cannot prepare their own food. This is the difference in between autotroph and heterotroph. Now what is autotrophic nutrition? Autotrophic mode of nutrition is a type of nutrition in which the organism can synthesize its own food. What is heterotrophic mode of nutrition? Heterotrophic mode of nutrition is a type of nutrition in which organism cannot synthesize his own food. This is called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Different examples are there. Some bacteria, algae and green plants. This is the example of the autotroph, and humans is the example of the heterotroph. Now, next concept is there are some plants. I think you have heard about some plants. They eat the insects. They are called as insectivorous plant. The famous example is pitcher plant. Insectivorous plants are those plants which trap the insect and they eat the insect. They are called as insectivorous plant. The examples of the insectivorous plant is Venus flytrap and pitcher plant and bladderwort. These are the examples of the insectivorous plant. Now there is a big question in front of all. The question is, if the plants are green in color, pitcher plant is green in color, insectivorous plants are green in color, insectivorous plants are green in color, then why they not perform the process of photosynthesis? Insectivorous plants, even though they are green in color, they are not performing the process of photosynthesis. Why? Because insectivorous plant require nitrogen. They are living at such a place where there is a deficiency of the nitrogen, so they are eating the insects. Being green in color, it is not compulsory for the insectivorous plant to prepare its own food by the process of photosynthesis. It is not necessary. Now, what are the examples of the insectivorous plant? Pitcher plant, Venus flytrap and bladderwort. These are the examples of the insectivorous plant. Now, you must know symbiotic association. There are different types of the plants. There are root nodules present on the roots of the plants. म्हणजे काही वनस्पतीच्या मुळांवर गाठी असतात. मग these plants are called as leguminous plant. These plants are called as leguminous plant. Inside this root nodule, one bacteria is living. The name of the bacteria is Rhizobium. Rhizobium is living in symbiotic association inside the leaves of the leguminous plant, inside the roots of the leguminous plant, and this rhizobium fixes atmospheric nitrogen and convert this nitrogen into nitrates. So rhizobium lives in root nodules of the leguminous plant. This rhizobium is living symbiotically with the roots of leguminous plant. Means there is a symbiotic association. Then who can tell me what is symbiotic association? Symbiotic association is a type of association in which both organisms get mutually benefited. Means this is a type of association in which rhizobium as well as leguminous plant both are get benefited. Now what type of benefit both get? Rhizobium is a small bacteria. It is present inside the root nodules of leguminous plant, and as the plant is giving shelter to the rhizobium, rhizobium is absorbing atmospheric nitrogen and converting this nitrogen into nitrates. You know, there are three main components that are necessary for the growth of the plant. One is nitrogen, next is phosphorus, and next is potassium, NPK. These three nutrients are necessary for the growth of the plants. Nitrogen is necessary in a large quantity for the plants. You know, nitrogen, it is a basic element which is necessary for the growth of the plants. Now this rhizobium is living in symbiotic association with the roots of the leguminous plant. This rhizobium is living in the root nodule. Rhizobium is giving nitrogen to the leguminous plant. In return of that, leguminous plant is giving shelter to the rhizobium, and this type of the association is called as symbiotic association, and this type of the plants, these plants are called as symbiotic plants. Now another one example of the symbiotic plant is Azolla and Anabaena azoli. I think you are all familiar with the paddy fields. Paddy fields are those fields where the leaves of the plant consist of one small microorganism, and the name of that bacteria is Anabaena azoli. Anabaena azoli is living inside the leaf of Azolla plant. Azolla plant gives shelter to the Anabaena azoli. So Anabena azuli is giving atmospheric nitrogen and converting the nitrogen inside the nitrate, and Anabena azuli is supplying nitrate to the plant. Means these leaves of the azolla, they are rich in nitrogen. They are used inside the paddy fields. So you must know what is symbiotic association. Symbiotic association is a type of association in which both the organisms get mutual benefit from each other. Another example is lichen. Lichen is a symbiotic association in between algae and fungi. There is a symbiotic association called as lichen, and it is an association in between algae and fungi. So what is symbiotic plant? Symbiotic plant is a type of plant which is living in mutual benefit with microorganism. Means the plant is giving shelter to the microorganism. In return to that, the microorganism is giving nitrogen to the plant. This type of the association is called as symbiotic association. You know this. Now, very important one is, you know, the process of photosynthesis. Now, iodine solution. What is the use of iodine solution? If there is a photosynthesis or not, the iodine solution is used to find out the presence or absence of the process of photosynthesis. Now, there is a next concept. The concept is parasitic plant. Now, what are parasites? Parasites are those organisms which are dependent for the purpose of food on another organism. Means parasitic plant. And the example of the parasitic plant is witchweed, cuscuta, broomrape and yellow rattle. These are the examples of the parasitic plant. Now you know mushrooms. Mushroom is an example of the saprophytic plant. Now what are saprophyte and what is saprophytic plant? Saprophytes are those organisms which are dependent on dead and decay matter. Those organisms which are dependent on dead and decay matter, they are called as saprophytes. Now what are saprophytic plants? Mushroom, the example is mushroom. A large number of the mushrooms are there. Some mushrooms are poisonous. Some mushrooms are edible. Another example is orchid. You know orchid? Orchid is an example of the saprophytic plant. There are nearly 1,300 varieties of the orchid, and this orchid is one of the example of the saprophytic plant. Now what are saprophytic plants? Saprophytic plants are those plants which are dependent on dead and decay matter. They are dependent on dead and decay matter for their growth and development. These plants are called as saprophytic plant. Now you must know what is cell. You must know who discovered cell. All of you know that Robert Hooke discovered the cell. Now what is cell? Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. A large number of cells are combining with each other and there is a formation of tissue. A large number of tissues are combining with each other and there is a formation of the organ. A large number of the organs are combining with each other and there is a formation of the organ system. And a large number of the organ systems are uniting with each other and there is a formation of the body. Means human body. Means cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Who discovered cell? Robert Hooke discovered cell. Now I think you have seen honeycomb. Which type of the structure of the honeycomb is there? The cell consists of centrally placed nucleus. Surrounding nucleus there is a presence of the cytoplasm. And nucleus and cytoplasm are bounded inside a membrane called as the cell membrane. You know cell membrane? Now, insectivorous plant, I have told you there are some plants, they are green in color. Even though they are green in color, they are not performing the process of photosynthesis. Why? Because they eat insect. Insects are rich in nitrogen. Insectivorous plants have a deficiency of the nitrogen. Even though they are green in color, they are not performing the process of photosynthesis because of the deficiency of nitrogen. This is a very famous question in this particular chapter. The question is why insectivorous plants are not performing the process of photosynthesis. And the answer is insectivorous plants are not performing the process of photosynthesis because they are green in color, and even though they are green in color, they trap insect. There is a deficiency of the nitrogen inside the plant. So insectivorous plant, even though they are green in color, they are not performing the process of photosynthesis. Now, in this particular chapter, you must know what is stomata. there are small openings present on the surface of the leaves. These openings are called as stomata. And what is host? You must know host. Host is an organism which obtain food from the other organism. This is called as host. So this is all involved inside the chapter, and the name of the chapter is Nutrition in Plants, in which we have seen autotroph, we have seen heterotroph, we have seen autotrophic mode of nutrition, we have seen heterotrophic mode of nutrition, we have seen cell, who discovered cell and what is the structure of the cell. Also in this particular chapter we have seen insectivorous plant, parasitic plant, symbiotic plant. Also in this particular chapter we have seen what is host. In this particular chapter we have seen alga and fungi. They are togetherly forming an association of the lichen, and this is an example of the symbiotic plant. So rhizobium and root nodules, rhizobium and leguminous plant, this is also a association of the symbiotic plant. Both are mutually benefited. In this particular chapter this all we have seen. Also we have seen the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process in which simple inorganic substances such as carbon dioxide and water, they are used by the green plants in the presence of catalysts such as chlorophyll and sunlight. Sunlight is not taking actually part as a reactant inside the process of photosynthesis, but sunlight and chlorophyll, they are increasing the rate of reaction. They are the catalyst, and carbon dioxide and water are the raw materials for the process of photosynthesis. Also sunlight is also necessary for the process of photosynthesis, and oxygen gas is evolved in the process of photosynthesis, and the main product which is formed inside the process of photosynthesis, it is C6H12O6. It is called as glucose. The main product which is formed inside the process of photosynthesis is called as glucose.